Hey, what's going on, YouTube? This is Man's Garden, right back at you. Alright, this video, this is going to be a slide presentation. I did this off my phone, so that's why I don't have as much information on here as I would like to have, so I squeeze in the important stuff, you know what I'm saying? And then there's going to be a video I'm going to play at the end of this. So we're going to go through this slide, and I'm gonna break a lot of stuff down, and we gonna get to it. All right, so let's get it cracking. So the truth about HIV/AIDS. Okay, what is HIV/AIDS? Now in this slide, I'm gonna be breaking down the words. Okay, I'm gonna be breaking down the words. And we have to break down the words because people just don't understand what they mean. They don't understand what the disease means because they get caught up in certain words like acquired and immunodeficiency, and they don't know what that means. So once we break these words down, you're gonna know exactly what this means. And then we're gonna get down to the truth of the matter. I'm gonna break down what it really means. Okay. So let's start with HIV. Now, HIV stands for human immunodeficiency virus, correct? Okay. The problem in this word, or these group of words, is immunodeficiency, right? The title is just off, okay? Immunodeficiency virus, right? Now let's move down. We're gonna go back to that, but we're gonna go down to AIDS. AIDS is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, right? Again, we have immunodeficiency. Okay, now this is the same, basically it's really the same disease, but they breaking down into two different diseases basically. When all AIDS is the final stage. So let's break down AIDS, right? The first word in AIDS is acquired. Acquired meaning buy or obtain for oneself. Buy or obtain an object or asset for oneself, right? That's what the word acquired means. So now when you bring that to AIDS, right? Since that's the first word of AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So let's break down the word immunodeficiency, right? Immuno is the immune system. Deficiency is a lack of or a shortage, right? That's the definition of deficiency. So you mean to tell me that I acquired an immune system deficiency. Now let's go back to deficiency. Now you can be deficient in vitamins, you can be deficient in a certain mineral, you know what I'm saying? You can be deficient of food, you can be deficient of anything material, right? Or any tangible object, right? So you mean to tell me that I acquired an immune system deficiency? I'm deficient in an immune system. So like I say, when you really break this stuff down, it's simple, but they confuse you by the way they put these words together. You know what I'm saying? And you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not researching these words. Okay, it's all a play on words, just to distract you from what the disease actually is. So what this disease is, right? Let's get to what it is. All right. HIV or AIDS is a virus. It is actually a retrovirus, right? And we're gonna get into what a retrovirus is in the next slide. But that's what HIV is. It's a virus that causes your immune system. I'm sorry. This virus in particular, it attacks your immune system cells. That's what I meant to say. It attacks your immune system cells, and then in the later stage, which is AIDS, your immune system is so deficient. Now, this is where the deficient part does come into play, right? But it doesn't make sense the way they put it together. Once the virus begins to attack your immune cells, over time, your immune system is unable to reproduce new cells, right, to help fight off the virus. So this is when your immune system is deficient in immune cells. That's different from what they're explaining, or from how they put this disease, the title of the disease together, right? So when you break it down, that's what it means. The virus is attacking your immune cells, and then in the later stage, it causes your immune system to attack itself, and that's why they call it an autoimmune disease. Okay, so that's all it is. This is not rocket science. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it is. All right, let's just move on to the next slide. All right, so these are the drugs that are given to patients, but keep in mind, this is a small ass list of the drugs, of all the drugs that are given. Okay, so, and these drugs are antiretroviral in nature. Well, not in nature, but that's what they are designed to do. Because, come on, they came from a lab, so I can't say in nature. So anyway, that's what the drugs are designed to do. They're designed to attack the retroviruses directly, and only do that. That's their only job. You know what I'm saying? But let's read the definition of a retrovirus, okay? So you can understand what it is. A retrovirus is a single-stranded positive sense RNA virus with a DNA intermediate, and as an obligate parasite targets a host cell. And they're talking about your immune system cells are your host cells for this virus. Once inside the host cell cytoplasm, the virus uses its own reverse transcriptase enzyme to produce DNA from its RNA genome, the reverse of the usual pattern, thus being called retro. Okay, so that's why they call it retrovirus. It's still a virus, but the actions of the virus is the complete opposite of a regular virus. Okay, so these drugs do not benefit your immune system at all. So let's go to the next slide. Now let's look inside the virus. Okay, this is the picture on your right. That's a picture of an actual HIV virus. Okay, so what the virus is a cell. Inside the cell is the DNA. You see the blue part, right? Then you go a little further out, into the pink or purple, and you have the protein, the capsule. Okay, that shields the inner part of the cell, and then on the outside, the covering on the outside, it is covered with lipoprotein or lipids, and that provides extra protection for the virus. So that's why it makes it so hard for the drugs to actually kill the virus, because they can't crack that shell open. So that's why drugs in particular do a disservice to your body instead of getting to the root cause. So let's read this right quick. HIV is the virus or retrovirus that causes AIDS, which wreaks havoc on your immune system, in particular the helper T cells, which are your fighter cells. Then the virus starts reproducing. Once these immune cells become infected, your body is unable to produce more, so in turn your immune system starts turning on itself and is suppressed, hence autoimmune, right? and reduced to a weakened state, stripping its ability to fight off the virus. The virus is coated with lipid protein for protection. The coating makes it difficult for drugs and antibiotics to destroy it, right? And that's what we just covered. So that's really like the breakdown of the actual cell of the virus. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so this one I'm gonna skim through. I'm not gonna go too long on this one, on this slide. Okay, so you can read this yourself. The symptoms. These are the symptoms associated with HIV. Now, some people may, experience different symptoms. Some people may experience all of these symptoms in rare cases, but these are some of the symptoms that are associated with this particular disease. So y'all can read this yourself, and yeah, let's go to the next slide. So in this slide, this is basically like a brief history of the HIV virus. Okay, this one I'm not really going to go too deep into as of yet. I have a video that correlates to this particular slide. I'm sorry. Dang, I can't even go back. I fucked up. I can't even go back. But that's all right. Y'all can pause the video at that particular slide and read off the history of the virus. Because I can't even go back to that slide for some reason. I'm still getting used to this phone. But anyway, I guess we gotta move on to this slide, right? All right, so naturally curing HIV. So most people believe that you cannot heal from HIV naturally, and they are right, but only half right. What they mean is that you cannot be healed or cured under Western allopathic medicine. If you could, they would be out of business. Simple. So they form treatments as opposed to cures, so you become dependent on the drugs. Even if the drug is able to fight off the virus to the point where it's undetectable through blood tests, the virus can still hide inside unhealthy cells. Actually, they don't even have to be unhealthy cells. They can hide inside your cells, period. But they have the ability to be activated. So in essence, the virus is still present, but it's just in hibernation mode. Okay? So that's what, and that, you know what, and that goes into a lot of these STDs, right? You take a drug for the STD, and for like the simpler STDs like gonorrhea and chlamydia, most people take the drug and they are alleviated from the symptoms and the virus. But the problem is there's a good chance that the virus might come back because the drugs did not completely get rid of the virus. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, or the bacteria. So that's why in a lot of cases people end up experiencing this problem again. And in a lot of cases too, the drugs are resistant. You know what I'm saying? So they're not, it's not really doing anything. So that's why people are dealing with this for years and years, taking the same drug, or even if they might take a different drug. The bacteria and the viruses become resistant to these drugs over time. And that's why a lot of these drugs, these common drugs, do not work. So that's why you have to, when you're talking about naturally curing anything, you have to cleanse, first of all. But we're going to get into that right now, okay? We're going to get into that. So here are the steps. Here's some steps for natural healing, okay? So number one, most importantly, you must change your diet. You have to. This is probably the most important step that people, even doctors, overlook. Most people in this country eat the SAD, or standard American diet, and it is quite sad. Adopting a plant-based raw vegan diet is ideal and has been used to reverse many illnesses like cancer and diabetes. So changing your eating habits or changing your diet is probably number one on the list, because if you don't change your diet, you're not giving your body the ability to do what it's supposed to do, which is fight diseases, which is protect itself. That's why you have an immune system. Now, you're not immune to anything, so I mean the terminology is off, but it's basically a defense system. That's what it really is. It's a defense system. It's an army, you know. It's designed to attack, to fight and attack anything. But we basically hinder that ability, that natural ability that we have, due to our diet and our lifestyle. So stuff like alcohol, meat, dairy, etc. These things have adverse effects, and that's the main problem in our community, in this country, period, is our eating habits are horrible, and we fight off diseases the way we're supposed to. And that's why they have hospitals, and that's why they have doctors, because they know you're gonna need them. They know you're gonna get sick. That's the master plan. That's why pharmaceutical companies are going to be in business as long as we are still dependent on drugs. So let's go to number 2. Heal your mind. This is important too. Okay. Many people become susceptible to mental illnesses like depression, stress, and anxiety once they get the news that they are infected. Many often are embarrassed to tell anyone and feel like it's the end of the world. I'm here to tell you that it is not the end. Start incorporating meditation, yoga, tai chi, etc. to help you ease your mind, allowing your body to focus on healing. Even going out for a nice walk can do wonders. I did a terrible job editing this slide. It's a lot of misspelled words. But the more your mind stresses, the more stress you put on your body. Stress kills. We know that. We know that to be a fact. So the point of me saying this is that you might want to incorporate, stuff like meditation and stuff like that. Stuff that helps put your mind at ease. You know what I'm saying? So you can forget about, the stresses of the world, or even forget about what you may have contracted. So it all starts in the mind. Okay. So if you are already in a mental lapse, then you want to do things that help to reverse that and put you in a better state of mind, so you can focus that energy on healing. And that's what people overlook: the power of your mind. You can program your mind to do anything. It's like you can program your mind to target a certain area in your body that may be not functioning properly, like your kidney or your liver. So you have to focus your mind on that particular part to help your body do what it's designed to do. And this is real. This is not no pseudoscience type shit. This is real shit. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. This is a part of that last slide. So fasting, very important too. Okay, now when we're dealing with major illnesses like this, fasting is probably one of the most therapeutical things you can do, if not the most. So you definitely want to consider it. If you never fasted before, this might be a new thing to you, but something you should consider. All the experienced fasters, you know what I'm talking about. If you're dealing with a major illness like this, then you might want to partake, consider doing this too, since you already did it, so it shouldn't be hard for you. So there are different types of fasts. I'm not going to read all this off because I want to get to this video at the end, because I already went on for like 20 minutes already. So you guys can read through this. Like I said, there are different types of fasts. I recommend any of these fasts besides dry fast for this particular issue. You can like, if you let's say you do a water fast or a juice fast, you can actually mix in a dry fast in between that too. But problem with that is, with the dry fast, you don't want to shock your body. People have died from not properly researching before they do this. with the dry fast. Like people that are actually sick already, dealing with illnesses, and they just decide to do a 3-day dry fast and they end up dying. So this stuff has happened for real. So make sure you do your research. I'm just listing you the types of fasts that you can incorporate in your regimen. Okay, and I recommend everything beside the dry fast. That's really for experienced fasters. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Herbal remedies. Now, some of these herbs are actually being researched to this day for its effectiveness against HIV and AIDS. Well, it's the same thing, but yeah. So it's in particular bitter melon and burdock root are being researched right now, and turmeric, because turmeric has been proven to be effective against cancer. So all of these herbs, olive leaf, black seed oil, turmeric, burdock root, golden seal root, bitter melon, sarsaparilla, these are just a few herbs or herbal remedies that you can incorporate in your diet. And when you're dealing with herbs like burdock root, keep in mind these herbs work together. So think about if you're going out buying herbs or you're buying these teas and stuff like that. If you're not experienced, I advise you to go to a herbalist, because most people don't know what they're doing, because this is a new thing to them. So go to somebody who's experienced with, mixing and combining herbs to make the right formula for a particular issue. So black seed oil and olive leaf is definitely, like olive leaf extract. They are definitely two things that you might want to consider incorporating. Okay, especially the black seed oil. Now, if you want to in order to really, truly, completely destroy this virus once and for all, you have to detox first. And that goes into changing your diet too. Because when you detox your diet, you cannot be eating a meat-based diet. Can't do it. So detox cleansing is first and foremost. Okay. So anybody dealing with HIV or they're in the last stage in AIDS, then please don't lose hope, because people have been naturally cured from this already. It's just not out in the public. And that's just how it is. They're not going to let that stuff get out there because they need to make their money. The pharmaceutical companies need to make their bread at the end of the day. That's just the way of the world. Or that's just the way of America. They must keep you sick so they can get rich. That's just how it is. So definitely, if you're trying to do this naturally, detox first. Go on a 14 to 21 day or even up to a 30-day detox. Okay. So I think this is it. So that's it for this slide. All right. So let's jump into this video. All right.
Historic records prove the secret intensification of the biological weapons race in America make the Soviet efforts pale by comparison. Prove it are three of the most stunning and condemning documents in biological warfare history. First is a never declassified congressional record of 1969 showing the Department of Defense requested $10 million to develop, quote, synthetic biological agents for germ warfare, end quote, through the National Academy of Sciences, National Research Council, that is the NRC. That's nearly half of the amount of money given to all of biological weaponry that year. These new laboratory creations were descriptively and functionally identical to HIV AIDS. Mind you, this was 15 years before the contested discovery of the AIDS virus by this man, Dr. Robert Gallo, who, as you will see in a minute, oversaw Lytton Bionetics, the Army's sixth leading biological weapons contractor at that time. Bionetics also operated the entire administration of the National Cancer Institute's programs at Fort Detrick at that time as well. This private company was a medical subsidiary of the mega military weapons contractor called Litton Industries. Litton's president, Roy Ashe, was Nixon's alternate for the National Security Advisor post he gave to Kissinger. In consolation, the president made Ashe his White House chief of the American business and industry. As Roy Ashe was joining the Nixon White House staff, Kissinger ordered Admiral Zumwalt of the Navy to do a reassessment of America's biological weapons capabilities. The Navy has always been at the forefront of such things. Bioweapons were cheaper to make and could be made to target people, even certain ethnic groups. There is no doubt that Fort Detrick's sudden cancer focus was part of a greater depopulation plan. According to congressional records and his biographer, Time magazine's managing editor, Walter Isaacson, Kissinger selected the option presented by Admiral Zumwalt to develop AIDS-like and Ebola-like bioweapons. And the contract went to his White House colleague's company, Litton Bionetics. There is now no doubt that Dr. Gallo officiated the development of these AIDS complex viruses. His group at Bionetics combined leukemia, lymphoma, and sarcoma viruses from various species of animals nearly 15 years before he was credited by the Department of Health and Human Services for having discovered the cause of AIDS, a similar retrovirus. They said this would lead to a cure, an AIDS vaccine within 3 years. It never happened. I managed to catch up to Dr. Gallo at the 11th International Conference on AIDS in Vancouver in 1997. I asked him if he was concerned that some of his experiments might have given rise to the AIDS virus, or AIDS virus relatives, that might have contaminated monkeys and chimpanzees shipped by Litton to the Merck's vaccine division in New York for the production of the earliest hepatitis B vaccines. Here is the exchange Dr. Gallo eventually apologized to me for. He was obviously aggravated.
Do you have any concern that your early experiments in taking simian virus 40 in the presence of simian foamy retroviruses and recombining them with cat leukemia and chicken leukemia sarcoma viruses might have given rise to HIV or its relatives following their culture in human tissues, and that these mutants could have contaminated some live viral vaccines produced in contaminated monkeys and chimps, supplied to vaccine manufacturers through your affiliates at Litton Bionetics?
Quite frankly, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I'll cite your paper, Dr. Gallo.
See how you're trying to avoid the question?
You've got a paper that I don't know I ever published.
Okay.
I'd sure like you to cite it. Would you begin?
I'd be happy to. National Academy of Sciences, 1970, Gallo et al. It was an oral presentation that you presented before NATO and NATO audiences in Mol, Belgium. You published it. It's in the National Academy. So I'll be happy to show you the paper.
Stop. I mean, this is beyond asinine. In Mol, Belgium, my first trip to Europe, so I can remember it, a NATO meeting did take place. NATO meetings fund all scientific meetings all over the world, even East-West at that time. Biologic meetings, scientific chemistry meetings, all kinds of meetings about motherhood, fatherhood, everything. And what I talked about in Mol, Belgium, was in the 1960s, long before gene cloning took place, before I ever worked in virology. What I talked about was cellular transfer RNA. Okay? And that's Mol, Belgium. Proceedings in the National Academy of Science and SB40. I never published a paper in my life on SB40, except the transfer RNA species in SB40 transformed hamster cells compared to non-transformed cells as a control. You've got pineapples, kiwis, grapes, and cherries mixed in with some other tutti frutti. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Excuse me.
I'm a little bit tired of this kind of nonsense.
Okay. And Gallo, Sarin et al. Were Lytton Bionetics researchers were your co-authors, in which you combined cat leukemia and chicken sarcoma viruses to create to evaluate the leukemia sarcoma complex models.
Very smart. Yes, we did. Everything was created by us, working in a laboratory. Look, just for those with some little bit of understanding of this, who care about this kind of idea, I've had a lot of things said, but I've never had anything quite like that one. There were people who thought and made postulations that, it was not actually directed at me, this is a good one, a new one, but that HIV could have been created in laboratory experiments. There are two answers to that are definitive, conclusive, that no scientist could have deliberately created them unless he was a super genius and 10 years ahead of his time. The AIDS virus definitively existed long before molecular cloning. That's point one. Point two, we know the full sequence. The genome of HIV was published by our lab in 1985 and by a group from Paris around the same time. The genome has no homology to any known existing virus in the world, except SIV discovered after it. Has nothing to do with cats, has nothing to do with chicken sarcoma viruses. SV40 is a DNA virus that comes from little animals that can transform cells in culture, has no sequences in HIV. Further, we never worked with SV40 with those viruses together, and if we did, the whole thing would be irrelevant. And I think you need to begin with Biology 101 high school. Okay.
These documents, including the U.S. government contracts, best explain how AIDS emerged on two far-removed continents in black Africans and gay New Yorkers by 1978. These were precisely the populations that received the first hepatitis B vaccines, produced in Lytton's chimpanzees just 4 years earlier. By the way, the man sitting to Dr. Robert Gallo's right is Dr. Jonathan Mann. At the time, Dr. Mann was the AIDS czar for the World Health Organization. Not long after Dr. Mann witnessed my exchange with Gallo, he quit his most esteemed position, saying, quote, far more than a medical problem, AIDS is a socio-political imposition, end quote.
So, that's it for that video. But the point is, this evil bastard, Dr. Robert Gallo, quote unquote, discovered the AIDS virus. But we all know, goddamn, and then we just seen this interview, right, with Dr. Robert Gallo, and he was very defensive against the questions that the man was asking him. So we already know the dude was feeling guilty. He knew what was up, because he knew what the guy was trying to get at. Like, damn, how he put all this shit together? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. I'm like 95% sure this motherfucker was the one that created the virus. Because anytime these motherfuckers say they discovered some shit, they're the ones that created it. For the most part. If they didn't create it, they either stole it. So that's why they used these little slick words like discover. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, I'm going to keep on exposing these motherfuckers. And, if y'all want to, continue to see me do these slide presentations, let me know in the comment section. All right. New video coming soon. Stay tuned. Peace.